Hey, I'm Pep, and this is a Pep Talk. Now, today is Boxing Day, and to gamers, what does that mean? That means likely you have some new games you've added to your collection, which means one of two things. Perhaps they are new expansions or newer versions, which means you have some old boxes to get rid of, or perhaps they're just new games in general, but you feel the need to reduce the size of your collection a little bit in order to make your shelves not overflow with new games. In either case, this pep talk is for you, because this pep talk is about Reboxing Day. Maybe I should release it tomorrow instead. Anyway, let's jump right into it. First things first, the easiest solution to having too many games is, of course, get rid of some. Maybe you're going to donate them to a local charity or a game cafe or just some friends and family. You probably don't need 6 different games that all have the same theme or even mechanics. But obviously it would be too easy to just make a video about giving away your games and suggesting that you should do it. In fact, I'm going to suggest the opposite. Hoard them all forever, keep as many games as you can. And here are some solutions for that. So often when you get an expansion to a game, such as this one, you'll usually just put it into the main game box, and then this extra box is useless. I mean, it's just an empty box. What are you going to do with that? Throw it away, right? Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, this is a box, and it has a lot of potential uses, one of which being next Christmas. You want to give somebody some sort of a gift that isn't a board game? Shame on you. But seriously though, this is a box, and often expansion boxes will come in a lot of different sizes, so they can make great gift boxes for other types of gifts. Maybe they can even end up being thematic. You want to give someone some miniatures? Put it into this. One of the cooler options I've seen is people making wall art, putting up some of their favorite games as essentially paintings along their walls. Usually, in my opinion at least, you'd want to do this with the core game, so you probably want to switch the old game to the new expansion box, which you can't really do with this one. If you could somehow fit Rising Sun into this tiny little box, you can't. But either way, I think it's a very good way to have art around your house that's board game themed. But personally, I think my favorite use for these kind of boxes is storage. And I know that sounds obvious, like, yeah, of course, that's what it was originally designed for. You put a board game in there. But what I'm thinking is if you have a lot of smaller board games, you can kind of create a little art project using some of these boxes you normally discard. A more intelligent me would have made an example for you so that I could just show you. But essentially what I mean is to take a bunch of smaller box games and do one of two things with them. Either simply put the games, box included, into these smaller boxes and just kind of remember what's in there. Or the other option, and a way to save even more space, is to take them out of those boxes and destroy those small boxes in order to glue them onto the front of this, kind of in stripes to remind you that those are the 6 or 7 games that you fit into that one box. Of course, you could combine both together and simply print out copies of the lid and just put those over top of the original box. That way you kind of have a dual purpose. You have what's inside, but once you open it up, you actually still have the original boxes as well. Now, of course, there's some other solutions for the boxes, depending on what you have around the house. Perhaps you have some cats. Well, cats do love to lie inside boxes, so transferring them into little miniature cat homes can be quite useful. Now, if you have small children, likely they won't fit in boxes the same way that children do. I also don't suggest putting your children into boxes. However, for some reason as humans, at a young age, we get the urge to destroy things. So if you're going to throw away these boxes anyway, maybe let them use them as some sort of a creative outlet for destruction. Or creation. If they don't want to have box throwing contests, maybe they want to decorate the boxes up so you can make the coolest box. Of course, there's the option of putting the boxes onto your fists and using them as boxing gloves, but I wouldn't suggest that. There's not actually a lot of padding inside of this box, so you'd basically just be punching each other, and that would hurt a lot. Instead, I suggest taking whatever new games you've got and playing those. Now, something else I've seen on the internet before that I think is probably up there for the coolest ideas, although it takes a lot of work, is making actual shelves using your game boxes. Now, you probably will still need something long, flat, and hard like plywood or whatever, but the boxes serve as the braces for such plywood, the in-betweens, and the nice thing is, because it's a fake game, it's not real, it's just a box, you never have to actually take it off the shelf. Perhaps you're someone who likes to make those box Christmas trees every year. Well, if you save these boxes, it's much easier to make a Christmas tree out of empty boxes that you don't really care whether they get destroyed or not, as compared to actually making it out of your favorite games. At the very least, these make a great thing to put on the bottom where all the pressure is. If you happen to have the tools and equipment needed to shrink wrap games, I can also suggest something very fun to do with your extra boxes. If you're planning on buying someone a small game or expansion for a game, such as this one, what you do is you take this shrink-wrapped copy of the game and you put it inside of one of your other boxes. Preferably the smallest one that it'll fit inside of. Then you shrink-wrap that game. Now you take that and you place it inside of another discarded game box. Shrink-wrap that one now. And repeat as many times as possible. When you go to give someone the gift, it'll look like some sort of large game. They'll open it up and they'll think, oh my gosh, Twilight Imperium, that's so amazing, thank you. Now at this point, you're going to feel a little bad because you're going to realize that you probably shouldn't have led with a very expensive game like that, because now they're going to feel bad and you're going to feel bad once they open it and find out you got them a smaller, less expensive game, hopefully one they still enjoy. But either way, the point is they'll continue to open up boxes thinking that, oh, you just hid it inside of this one, that's really clever. Until they get about 6 deep and at some point they turn and ask, is there ever going to really be a game in here? You know, maybe this isn't a good idea, maybe this just makes you a monster. But hey, if you want to prank your friends on Christmas, feel free. Now, if you've ever done something like that before, my personal suggestion and the way that I've made it a little more interesting for someone unpacking is to include a small miniature present in each of the box layers. I once did this for a friend who used to play Yu-Gi-Oh with me, so I taped a Yu-Gi-Oh pack to the inside of each box, so every time you got to a new one, there was kind of a little surprise reward for achieving this unboxing masterpiece. It's like an advent calendar that you open all at the same time. Maybe put some little non-perishable snacks in there so that they have something to eat along the way in case they get tired of all that unwrapping. But you know what? My final suggestion, and honestly the one that is probably the most important and the one that I think is probably the best idea for most of us, and that's to take this extra game box and just throw it away. So many of us have such a problem with just keeping all the clutter that we have around. And I'm no different, I hate to admit. I try to keep everything, every little extra piece. I even keep a lot of the inserts in games, hoping that at some point, even though I've taken it out of the box, it might be of use to me. And you might save $1 or $2 here and there. Heck, you might save $20 at some point because you have this insert that just fits into a new box perfectly and it just happens to fill that role that you needed. Maybe you use it for cutlery instead of a $20 thing that you put cutlery in. Drawer organizer. But is it really worth the $20 if you had to hold on to that insert for 2 years? Probably not. Am I going to change my habits? No. Are you? Likely not either. But just think about throwing the box away. After your cats and kids are done with them, of course. Anyway, that's been my pep talk. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I hope everybody got something they wanted, and I hope everybody got to feel the spirit of giving and just had time with their families. Whatever it is that you want around the holidays, I hope that's what you got. For me, the big thing that I got this year was this picnic table. It's not a picnic table, it's a ping pong table. I mean, you could have a picnic on it if you wanted. Rather than giving gifts, all my friends worked together and we just splurged and got ourselves this ping pong table, so I didn't have to play on my kitchen table anymore using a very bad wooden net. Now let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestions for what to do with your leftover boxes, and what you got for Christmas, what you're most happy about this year. I'll be thrilled to read them later, but for now, I'm off to spend my Boxing Day playing board games. And I hope you get to have some gaming in the holidays as well. Bye for now.